H.P. Lovecraft's creative imagination has pretty much defined the cosmic horror genre, and his creations, such as Cthulhu and other similar extraterrestrial monsters, have served as the inspiration for horror entities for decades. In one such case, Cthulhu has been highlighted as the inspiration behind the designs for Ridley Scott's Alien, a pop culture classic in the sci-fi horror genre. However, the credit for linking these two iconic pieces of media goes to Swiss artist H.R. Giger, who first published a book of images known as the Necronomicon in 1977. This work of art was inspired by Lovecraftian themes, and Giger was soon brought on board to design the conceptual art for Alien. Today, we'll explore this connection in great detail and tell you all about H.R. Giger's Lovecraftian inspiration in his artworks for Alien. But before we get into this explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. H.R. Giger and Lovecraft, a surreal cosmic synergy. Lovecraft's works were defined by gruesome details and vivid descriptions of the most nightmarish creatures imaginable, and one such example of this would be the intergalactic monstrosity known as Cthulhu. Lovecraft described him as an entity that just cannot be fully described, and readers had to delve into their imaginations to conjure up an image of a beast so magnificent that even the greatest horror minds of all time couldn't put it into words. This naturally piqued the curiosity of H.R. Giger, who has notably cited Lovecraft as an inspiration for his works. Of all things, Giger was famously inspired by Lovecraft's descriptions of the Necronomicon, a fictional grimoire that soon became a real book brought to life by Giger's art. Many critics have also noticed Lovecraft's influence on Giger's biomechanical art style and obsession with cosmic insignificance, and both artists use their mediums of choice to create the same fear of things that are beyond human comprehension. In this way, Giger's art evoked a sense of horrific realism among viewers, and he didn't hesitate to fill his canvas with descriptive, gory details in the hopes that they would stir strong emotions in the audience's minds. Giger's art was a true reflection of Lovecraft's cosmic horror themes, and he even used monochromatic hues to ensure that the colors do not distract the viewers from the true terrors depicted in his art. Most of his pieces depicted humans as fast food or resources such as host bodies or incubators, further promoting Lovecraftian horror themes where humanity is insignificant or holds significantly less value in the cosmos. Another striking parallel between the works of Lovecraft and Giger can be highlighted through the influence of ancient Egypt on their writings and paintings. Lovecraft's characters and stories included a hint of Egyptian folklore in the form of elaborate ceremonial magics and rituals to eradicate demons and specters, and he didn't hesitate to borrow themes and motifs from Egyptian lore. In the same way, Giger was also influenced by the mysteries of dynastic Egypt, and he had also spent much of his childhood exploring museums and deep diving into mummified bodies and sarcophagi until he even constructed a replica of an Egyptian burial chamber in his parents' house. Giger later talked about how he wanted his works to highlight the influence of Egyptian art, which included many references to mummies, skulls, and death as an idea in whole. From cosmic horror to cinematic terror, Lovecraft's influence on aliens. Lovecraft's signature monsters, such as Cthulhu and the Migo, seem to be inspirations for the monstrosities depicted in Alien. In fact, the connection is solidified when we look into the influence H.P. Lovecraft had on the film's original screenplay, written by Dan O'Bannon and Ronald Shusett. O'Bannon stated that he used the ancient race of hideous beings referenced in Lovecraft's works as an inspiration for the film. He even hinted that the little storm-lashed planetoid in Alien could be considered a fragment of the Old One's homeworld, which makes the alien a blood relative of Yog-Sothoth in some ways. Even if we don't go so far as to link actual Lovecraftian monsters to the film, the themes of humanity's insignificance and taboo concepts of sexuality, monstrosity, and biology being blended together to result in the xenomorph's creation makes the film a classic example of Lovecraftian horror. These themes have been highlighted in plot points such as the nature of the space derelict, the xenomorph's unnatural life cycle and tendency to latch onto human hosts, and innumerable screenplay references to rumored alien gods. More than anything, the film gives out a strong message on the disposable nature of human beings in the face of mysterious extraterrestrial forces, a concept that's rooted in Lovecraftian horror. The film creates a feeling of deep unease and tension right off the bat as we learn all about the Nostromo's excursion and are introduced to the crew that lands on LV-426. As things progress, the crew's insatiable curiosity eventually leads to their own destruction as they try to make sense of the foreign object in front of them. Of course, this doesn't end well for them, and the film highlights the vast and incomprehensible nature of the universe beyond humanity's reach. As the film reaches its finale, the crew realizes that they've been forsaken by their own species and that humanity is utterly insignificant as their bodies are nothing but host bodies on the death trap known as the Nostromo. Dan O'Bannon is highly credited with creating an atmosphere of existential dread that's maintained throughout the film and bringing a touch of cosmic horror to a typical sci-fi film. Lovecraftian horror usually unravels through the protagonist's search for forbidden knowledge and the subsequent dangers of accessing such esoteric knowledge that can drive one to insanity. It highlights the insignificance of mankind, as seen in works such as The Color Out of Space or At the Mountains of Madness. Just like the protagonists in these stories, Ripley faces the challenge of navigating a faceless, unexplainable threat in the Xenomorph, which is capable of corrupting everything in its path. Ripley's character is often likened to Dr. William Dyer in Mountains of Madness due to the courage she shows in the face of fear. Instead of spiraling into insanity or giving up, Ripley doesn't cower but garners the strength to fight the Xenomorph with great determination. Lovecraft's works were also known for being discriminatory towards other races or species, which is highlighted in the film's description of the Xenomorph as a product of an unholy union between humans and aliens. Bet you didn't know there was a little bit of xenophobia in your Xenomorphs, huh? Finally, the film explores cosmic horror as a result of the hostility and indifference of a cosmos as opposed to supernatural threats. The film uses Ash, the android, as an example of how human inventions can only go so far in the face of danger, especially when the android betrays the crew. In this way, Dan O'Bannon and Ridley Scott hope to emphasize that human advancements in fields of science and technology held great potential to destroy the race, a key theme in cosmicism. Biochemical Nightmare, Giger's Necronomicon and the Visual Birth of Alien. H.R. Giger published the Necronomicon in 1977, and he named this book after Lovecraft's fictional grimoire penned by the Mad Arab, aka Abdul al-Hazred. While the Necronomicon was a mysterious text torn into pieces in the Lovecraftian universe, Giger brought it to life with his imaginative artworks, and it soon served as the inspiration for Ridley Scott's Alien. This happened after Dan O'Bannon met H.R. Giger while working on a movie adaptation of Dune, which eventually didn't work out. However, O'Bannon continued to remain in touch with Giger and even shared his works with director Ridley Scott, who hired him to produce the artwork and conceptual designs for Alien. While discussing his artworks, Giger stated he was greatly influenced by Art Nouveau's elegance in drawing while creating his biomechanics. Giger also hoped to put forth his own interpretation of modern society that explores a blend between organic and mechanical forms through his biomechanics. He wanted these designs to appear alive and artificial at the same time in the hopes that they would serve as a critique of rampant technological advancements and their resulting dehumanization. He believed that advanced technology would cause humans to evolve into hybrid, half-mechanical creatures, and these ideas were greatly inspired by Lovecraft's emphasis on the insignificance of humanity in an indifferent universe. Giger wanted to portray the body as a machine, and the main theme of the Necronomicon follows the nightmarish blend of human bodies with machinery such as pipes, wires, and pistons. His art made us wonder if humans were undergoing macabre experiments in an attempt to attain higher intelligence, or if it was some spectacle of sadomasochistic pleasure. His works urged the audience to discuss ideas such as whether the human mind still remains human when it's dissected and attached to a machine. In a world where artificial intelligence is on the rise, Giger's works are far more relevant than they've ever been as we dissect the futile nature of humanity in the face of mysterious, advanced forces that have been invented by none other than human hands. Of all his works, the Necronom 4 is inarguably one of Giger's most memorable designs. In fact, it was even used as the basis for the Xenomorph designs, and it was essentially a partly human and partly mechanical creature with a phallic head and a tail that tapered off in a human skull. The skull especially grabbed our attention, while the rest of its body parts seemed to be inspired by Lovecraft's tentacled monster, Cthulhu. However, Giger's Necronom 4 underwent some changes in the process of becoming the Xenomorph, and its phallic head was enhanced with new features such as accentuated teeth and a lack of visible eyes. The character was made to be more of a robot than a living entity, but its slime gave it a biological touch after all. The Alien also depicted the xenomorph as a nightmarish parasite that reproduces through violent means by laying eggs that soon grow into facehuggers and latch onto a human host. At this point, the embryo turns into a larva and bursts through the host's body in a painful process that results in the human host's death. Cthulhu, Xenomorphs, and the Ongoing Legacy of Cosmic Horror. H.P. Lovecraft described Cthulhu as an anthropoid monster with a tentacled octopus-like head with rubbery skin, sharp claws, and narrow wings. He's often likened to a deep-sea god worshipped by cultists, and what makes him truly terrifying is his indescribable nature and unknown origins. The xenomorph is likened to Cthulhu in the sense that both entities have the most grotesque, unimaginable anatomy paired with a complete apathy towards humanity. They also evoked primal fear in the hearts of their victims, and fans have kept the discussion around Lovecraftian themes in the Alien franchise going even today. As the franchise grew, critics continued to praise its cosmic horror themes and Lovecraftian atmosphere, even when later works didn't have any direct connection to the Lovecraft mythos. Moreover, more and more creators were attracted to the idea of linking Lovecraft's works to the alien mythos, and one such notable media was the Elder Gods comics by Nancy Collins. Published in the one-shot Alien Special in 1997, this comic was a tongue-in-cheek parody of the Alien franchise and held many references to H.P. Lovecraft. In fact, she even introduced characters such as Horace Payne Lovelace, Father Lumley, Father August, and Brother Ramsay, who were all inspired by notable mythos writers such as H.P. Lovecraft, Brian Lumley, August Derleth, and Ramsay Campbell, respectively. The work also cited notable Lovecraftian stories, including the Dunwich Horror and the Call of Cthulhu, by disguising them as Lovelace's writings named The Sign of Toledo and The Abomination from Ipswich. Of course, there were more Easter eggs created with the purpose of highlighting a connection between the Alien franchise and the imaginative cosmic horror-filled works of Lovecraft, but at the end of the day, the comic was fairly well written. The art style also had clear influences from Giger's work, and the comic's essence is rooted in the Alien franchise, even if it ensures an ongoing legacy of cosmic horror on the side. Why the Alien franchise's enduring terror is Lovecraftian at heart. As the world continues to evolve, we've witnessed a rise in technological advancements and artificial intelligence, which only makes cosmic horror an even more interesting concept. Since its release in 1979, the Alien franchise's enduring terror has created quite a legacy, and the fact that it is Lovecraftian at its heart makes it an even more interesting piece of media. With a touch of Giger's nightmarish art, Alien managed to create a whole new dimension of imagination, and both Lovecraft and Giger deserve praise for turning the cosmos into such a frightening, incomprehensible entity. Lovecraft's creativity when it came to crafting stories about cosmic incursions, paired with Giger's artistic vision in bringing these horrors to life, managed to create the perfect blend of inspiration that laid the foundation of the Alien franchise. They created monsters that were so far beyond the scope of human imagination and tapped into the raw fear of the audiences with such intensity that these creations haunt our collective nightmares even years and years after they were first introduced. Marvelous verdict! And with that, we've explored all the ways in which we can see H.P. Lovecraft's influence on the Alien franchise, right from the cosmic horror-filled atmosphere to the artistic contribution of H.R. Giger. At the end of the day, these works were created as a medium to widen our imagination and explore the worlds that teeter on the edge of the unknown, and there's no doubt that the Alien franchise stirs these thoughts within us. It's one of the most enduring pieces of media that's remained relevant even among constantly evolving pop culture trends, and we hope you enjoyed exploring these bizarre connections between Alien and H.P. Lovecraft. That's all we got for you this time, but if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Otherwise, thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day.